Hey, welcome back to the Wednesday night recap.
Yeah, Wednesday night recap. Woo, that's what I've
Preston and
been waiting
Shaur, the
for.
usual suspects, recapitulating, going back over Chinese RMUC regionals right now. Getting hyped for next month. RMNA is so freaking close. I have so much left to do.
Right around the
I'm
corner.
not
I feel
ready.
you, Preston. I've been working on a lot of like B-roll. I've been working on other kinds of stuff that I want to showcase throughout the stream, and also a bunch of stats work for our analyst desk and such. And I'm just like, it's like it's a month away exactly from today when we
Oh
will be
no.
in San Diego starting our filming sessions, and the competition is a month and 2 days after that. June 23rd is when you're going to be seeing us on stream. It's going to be crazy.
I'm very excited. Super duper excited. I need to put together a box of like streaming equipment and stuff to send from here, and I'm running out of time. I'm like, oh, I got plenty of time. Like, it's gonna ship, like, even cheap, it's gonna ship in like 7 days. But oh my goodness. Really, RMUC is getting me just extra pumped. Doing all these extra streams, looking at the Chinese regionals. I feel like RMNA has progressed to a point where they're fairly on par with Chinese regionals. If you're not familiar with how the whole international bracket works, we're not going to get super into it. I know the word bracket is very exciting for Shaur, but basically, what's happened in years past is there are not regionals for the international teams. You show up, which is very kind of DJI, frankly. It's so expensive to travel to China and stay there for 2 weeks for the finals and whatnot. It would be prohibitively expensive to double that and difficult with the schedule. We're going over matches right now that happened a week ago, which is during
Mhm.
school for most Western universities. They would still be in session, so it'd be
Yep.
really really tough. So DJI, really nice, has allowed the international teams traditionally to skip the regionals, um, and then they go into the international matches and they play against one another. And then if you make it out of that, you're just in the finals and you're playing against the finals teams, full 7v7, the whole 9 yards. Awesome, but man alive, the barrier for entry is really high, right? And RMNA, we've talked about it ad nauseum. Make sure you're following Robomaster North America on all the socials. I need to make sure that I add those here so you guys can find those easier. But sure, we've talked about it a bunch. RMNA is
Oh yeah,
starting to act as a stair step, as kind of our own
absolutely.
regionals.
Yeah. In fact, we actually feel almost like we are becoming that international regional to some extent. I mean, we've talked about it a bit in terms of like, oh, we're getting like a ton more teams. Like we and Preston were just going on and on about how we're like super excited to have like OADO Samurai and other teams like that coming in from Japan, Singapore, Italy, and that's just going to keep on growing as RMNA grows. We're discussing if we need to have our own internal regionals going forward because we have so many teams at this point, especially for like 1v1. It's like we're like hitting up against the barrier of how much you can get done in a week, just because we don't have like the seven, like we don't have like 3-4 fields like RNBC does in order to run all these matches. So it's a little bit trickier. It's a little bit trickier when you're scrapping around to get all this stuff together. But yeah, it's just it's turning into quite a beautiful um, like experience to be at RMNA. Essentially, it's just turning into an experience. Is the best I can put it.
Okay, so a large portion of the reason that Shar and I have created the second channel is so that it can just be Shar and I talking about RoboMasters without being RoboMasters sponsored. I love the fact that they help sponsor the English content 100%. I'm going to keep doing that until they make me stop, frankly. Um, but here on our own rep channel, Shar,
Mm-hmm.
what is your I have a proposed solution. Let me
Oh
shout it
yeah.
out there. I don't know if I've shared it on stream before because I am really happy with the way things are going. I think we should I think if you make it out of groups in 3v3, you get kicked out of 1v1s. That's my proposed
Mm-hmm.
solution. Um I think 1v1s are awesome and really exciting, and I absolutely love watching like UW, CU, Texas A&M in 1v1s, especially as a standard hardware lead for a team that has won 1v1s before. Let's go, Texas Aimbots, right? It's
Texas
where we go to
aimbot.
shine. Um, but I think that to me is the next step. It will thin down the bracket schedule, especially for 1v1s. It will give some of your newer teams a different path. No, we're on
Mm-hmm.
our own channel. It'll get some of your non-prepared teams out of 3v3s. Like there are teams that don't need to be in 3v3s. If you're fielding 2 bots in 3v3s, it's a building year for you. Go compete in 1v1s, have a great time, look really good on camera, right? Don't get all these sponsors and tell your school that you're going to do so well and be awesome, and then you show up and like you have one robot that moves and so the other team just stomps you 5 times in a row, right? That's my proposed solution. Get the 3v3 kings out of 1v1. Get the 1v1 teams out of 3v3. It will let us survive in the current kind of cycle for a couple more years, until we really get to a point where we have 25 teams competing in each. And then sure, we could make the Midwest Conference something bigger, turn it into a regionals competition, probably do a South Conference too. I think we could probably get away with a Midwest and a South. If you send like Canada down to Purdue and you send Mexico up to Texas and then Italy, maybe they get special rules. Maybe if you're traveling from not North America, right, you get special rules just like international teams did in China.
So here's my personal take on this, because I get to have takes actually now when I'm not directly representing operators.
Yeah.
I'm gonna preface this: I'm not representing the operators. I'm not representing any affiliation with RMNA or anything like that. This is my own personal opinion as someone who loves brackets, loves grassroots competitions. I think that I don't want to have like official sanctioned regionals, if that makes sense. I really like what the Midwest was, where it was kind of like this grassroots, they're coming together, running their own thing kind of thing. And that's more of like, it's like, I want it to be kind of like Smash, right? Where we have these majors, we have these invitationals, which are like the big RMNA platform stuff, right? And then people just also want to run their own events, and we just support them where we can, right? With either production, with either hosting. This is actually a big reason why I tried to get them on the RMNA channel. I talked to you about this, Preston. I was like, I wanted to get the Midwest on there because I was like, I want to support them as a grassroots organization. There's also kind of another reason why we wanted to found Rep, because we're like, then we can actually directly support, and we can be like, yes, you can have like access to the Rep channel. We can do all this production work with you, and kind of like almost like contracting, right? But it's like volunteer contracting because we don't get paid. But I would say I kind of agree with you on. So my take was, rather than just, if you get out of 3v3 groups, you're not allowed in 1v1. My take was that essentially, if you top 8 1v1 the year before, you are not allowed back into 1v1 was my idea. Either that, or if you top 8 3v3 the year before. Because my thing is like the teams that do super well in 3v3, I don't want them to keep clogging up the 1v1 top 8, because I'm like, I want to see those new teams in there, right? And we want to see those teams to kind of compete. Like so like, while 1v1 does swap first place every year, there's never been someone who's won it more than once, essentially. Yeah. Right. The problem ends up being that it's the same 4 teams that are in the top 4 every year of 3v3. It's TAMU, it's UW, it's UIUC won it one year, but TAMU was second and UW was third, right? It's VT is up there. Like all those teams are still very, very strong in 1v1, because if you have a good standard, you're going to be able to just get to top 8. And I'm like, I would rather start making it feel like 1v1's kind of like a training ground, right? Like a new experience where you can kind of get your feet wet in the Roadmasters. It makes the barrier to entry a little bit easier. That's kind of what it's already become. And I think that will take out a good amount of teams and give us some more leeway, because 1v1 also expands a lot faster than 3v3 does. 1v1 grows by like 4 or 5 teams every year. And at some point it's just like, we need to start churning out the old teams who've been doing it for years and years and years, right? Those legacy teams, they need to start going and trying harder things like Engineer Challenge, like the 3v3, right? Like for Engineer Challenge, we've only seen like 3 or 4 engineers so far that were submitted. So I'm like, come on, guys. These 3v3 teams have been dominating for years. Surely you can build an engineer, right? Instead of focusing on 1v1 again. Surely that's better for you.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. And we won't stay on this for too long. Michael in chat agrees with us. Get UW out of 1v1s, sure. I think the last thing I'll say is the reason I kind of gravitate towards using top 8 in 3v3 rather than top 8 in 1v1s as the kind of delineating factor there is I want a team that does well in 1v1s but doesn't compete in 3v3s yet, or doesn't make it out of groups in 3v3s, to still have that for a couple years. I think there's probably at least a second year between when you're team number 8, for example, in 3v3s. And you know what? Let's look at Torino. It gives us options for teams like Torino, who gets like 8th in 1v1s every year. I know this because the last 2 years they got like 9th in 1v1s and then kind of got screwed out of groups. And I ended up running around in circles yelling at people about trying to get Torino in. This is a long story for a different podcast, but but a team like Torino, right? in the past had specialized. They were doing balancing robots and stuff, putting a lot of time and effort in one bot. And if they were just crushing it in 1v1s, maybe top 3 every year, I'd be totally fine with them hanging out in 1v1s, understanding that they're not ready for 3v3s 2 years ago. They have been progressing, and I'm excited to see what they bring this year. They were close last year, but as a team that focused really hard on standard and with a balancing standard, that doesn't translate well to a Sentry or a Hero. And so similarly, right, 1v1s is where we see a lot of standard innovation. It's where we see CU doing their elevator thing. We see, people doing peak strats and stuff. And anywho, we don't need to stay on this tangent, but that's my take. That's when people talk about, oh, there's not enough room left in the bracket. I agree. But until we get some big corporate sponsors online that can support this, I mean, Shaur, shout out to all the freaking volunteers and the staff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You and I know because we're doing it. We're all losing a couple $1,000s this summer just to come and support this event.
Oh my God.
And so if you double it,
extra lights.
like, thank goodness all of us are engineers and are starting careers, right? Like it's really fine. We're in a privileged job role with most of us going into engineering or software that like we can swing having a $2,000 to $3,000 hobby a year where we just blow $3,000 on a trip to California for a week to sit in the, to help run the event. But this can't double and triple.
It's all of our paid time off. Yeah. It's a matter of like, we can't once we hit, I think a week is the max we can do an RMNA for.
And it's a week, right? Because it's a week of content.
Starts on Saturday, ends on the next Sunday. It's like technically it's more than a week.
Yeah, if you have the PTO, you're gonna take a Friday somewhere or a Monday somewhere so you can sleep and get your voice back. And I love it, 100%. I'm gonna keep doing this. Like I said, I will happily out of pocket come to RMNA every year just to help host and help stream. But I think there are options that help progress the sport and also facilitate like just reasonability, right? It's not reasonable to say, okay, next year we need to hold 2 or 3 events because we'd probably need to duplicate the field pretty soon, right? If we're going to do regionals or at least be paying to ship the thing around the country a couple times during the year.
That was actually another thought I had. This is something I've taken from Smash. So for some background context to everyone who doesn't know I don't get to talk about this much on the Roadmaster streams. I'm gonna talk about it here. My original background is TOing and streaming and podcasting for Melee, right? That's where I come from. That's where I learned how this all works. Where I originally came from. I actually restarted my own personal stream. I did Multiverses yesterday because the last stream I did before that was Multiverses 3 years ago, and I was like, the game's dying, might as well do it. Tangent aside, one thing I want to steal from Smash is having multiple fields at comp if possible. I don't think it's too difficult to duplicate a 1v1 field, and just one of them isn't streamed. Maybe recorded, but not necessarily like on the live stream, right? I think that could significantly boost, like that doubles our amount of matches we can play at a time, right? Swiss goes twice as fast when you have 2 fields, and you always have a set amount of matches with Swiss. So I'm like, that would be my next. If we really want to keep everyone at 1v1, we don't want to start spreading out to more competitions. That 1v1 field's got to get duplicated, and it's not the worst in the world to duplicate. It's relatively small, relatively simple compared to the 3v3 field, which has also thankfully gotten simpler because they removed the bases. That's actually one positive I have about the 3v3 field design this year. If we ever need to duplicate it, it's so much easier because you don't have to get 2 extra bases, which is the cost sink for that field, just from a like background standpoint.
I mean, the field itself, right, as it stands now, we could pretty much send people like some plans and some money, and they could build it with their own team, which is cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Texas A&M. One of the things that I really loved in the first 2 years that they hosted comp, I can't remember if it was the first or the second year, but Yibo was there really helping facilitate outreach, looking at DJI's educational products. And so they had an S1 field at one of the events where viewers and kids and parents and friends and participants, right, could go and play with the S1s and have an S1 competition just during the event, which was awesome. And then the second year, they brought the DJI educational drones, and they could fly the drones around in a different field. And so kind of in that same vein, right, if you have a second 1v1 field that lets you do crazy things, it also lets you increase your practice. So if we don't need that second 1v1 field, say once we get into like groups, or we'll get out of groups, for 1v1, we could switch that over to being a practice field that's just open, and it's just a sign up page, like a piece of paper, and you get a 10-minute slot. And if you miss your slot, too bad, so sad, right? And you can just sign up for whatever time you want. Like each team, you can't sign up twice in a row. Like very basic rules. Like you're reserving a study room or something, right? So no downsides, all the upsides.
Even beyond practice, we can even, like, for example, this year engineering. So another issue with the 1v1 this year is that the engineering challenge has to run in the same field right after 1v1 finishes, and scheduling that in is not easy because we have so many 1v1 teams that I have to immediately schedule in like three matches of engineering for each team. The annoying part of that is that if we had two fields, we could just start the engineering challenge at the same time that we start the original what's it called, the like elimination matches for 1v1. We could just have them both running concurrently. That'd be so much nicer. Anyways, we have definitely stalled enough, I think, Preston, at this point. Let's jump into some RMUC matches.
All right, RMUC. I got a lot less hot takes about RMUC. These matches are freaking awesome.
These matches have been so good.
Let's go. Oh, you know what?
What's that?
Let me make sure you're in here. I think you are.
I think it says Shaur.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, we're there.
All right, chat.
Let me pull up the Google Translate real quick. Grabbing it.
These are those bases that Shaur was explaining are very expensive. These ones are a little bit fancier because they're the RMUC bases. Reminder that they have a moving armor panel on the top. They have physical armor that protects their armor panel to be as confusing as possible going around the base. There's sheet metal that will open up and expose lower armor panels when that base gets to 2,000 hit points. My goodness, the drones are huge every time.
This is the Zonkai Agricultural Engineering College on the red. They were 2023 season South Division top 32. So they've been to top 32 before in the South Division, which we'll hopefully get to see a little bit higher. They'll hopefully get a little bit farther, which would be really cool. And then in the blue team, we've got, when this translates, Yunnan University. Bold and sincere, capable of doing anything is their motto.
Heck yeah. Shaur, maybe at the end of today's stream, we got a little more time today than usual, or on a different day, you and I should go through and just kind of openly brainstorm what we could put in English profile cards.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be
This engineer is very reminiscent of previous years. So before they added the fiberglass or the plexiglass, on top of the middle resource island, we would see multi-grabbers. We'd see a lot of engineers with a 3 suction and 2 suction. The 2 suction, I believe, is still useful for the silver cubes, but marginal gains, right? So if you already had it, awesome. But if not, I'm not really sure it's worth building.
Yeah. That's fair. Oh, look at that hero design. Very tall hero. We've seen a lot of tall heroes this year at RMUC.
It's because of that sniper position.
They've got those better sniping positions, and they're clearly a lot more impactful. I mean, in the 3 games we've watched so far, the hero was like the defining robot of the match, essentially. Without it, it was very difficult to make any headway because you can't hit the top of those panels, and you can't get the base exposed before 2,000 health on it's already been done. So a very tricky situation to be in if you don't have any access to a dart or a drone. Your hero really has to step up as the only robot that you can fire with that does not cost so much more economy-wise and material cost and engineering-wise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we saw yesterday, right? The literal sniper position as well, where you get the bonus damage for the hero, is really close to a wall. So they just simply need to be tall enough to look over that wall to be able to aim at the base and the outpost. Also protects them from the drone. A very common strat seems to be using your drone to try and back off that hero. But it has one armor panel that's pretty much fully covered at that moment.
Yeah. Alright, looking at the rollout here, looks like we're going to have the engineer in the front, which is a smart idea. I personally like that a lot. Sentries also in the front. I want to see the sentries get more involved in these matches. I feel like so far we've seen them pretty, they stay back for the most part. They do some base defense. There was that one match where, I forgot what the team name was, but the red side sent the sentry into the center for a little bit and was able to keep the hero off that position where the sniper is and being able to take damage to the base. But we haven't seen a lot of aggressive sentries yet in RMUC, which I think is like one of the more interesting technological challenges. So I'm personally hoping we get to see some more of that. And given that red team is starting with the sentry in the front, I'm like, please, that would be amazing. Anyways, in 3, 2, 1, we're off to the races. Yunnan University versus the Agricultural University.
Yeah, as you pointed out, I think the sentries are actually less influential now in RMUC. I mean, they still start with a big level lead, but now that they no longer unlock those lower base panels, it's not such a big deal if your sentry dies. They also auto revive, I believe, just like all the other robots now. So both teams getting both of their silver cubes. Econ's going to stay very close as the drone for red team already unloading, but not landing a lot of projectiles.
Seems to be just trying to take center space. It looks like it's aiming at those standards here. Red Center 4 does take the first knockout here. Maybe some help with the drone fire there.
Yeah, that's a kind perspective. I think you get to. So they've got a really nice UI, and there we go. He lands a couple and is able to take out Blue Standard 3, trying to shut the commentators up. The drone for the blue team doing a similar job here, staying with that spray and pray, right? Just keeping a constant stream of projectiles towards the outpost, letting the panels swing into them themselves. Red Standard 4 in a tough spot here, but on the blue side's base, man, he's commanding presence on the wrong side of the field, but he's able to maintain kind of dominance as he scares off Blue Hero 1, is able to make it out of a number 2 disadvantage fight. This is exactly what I was talking about yesterday, where the robots are hiding behind the outposts as a way to take less damage from those drones while active.
I think it's interesting, actually. In the last couple matches we've watched, the drones have been pretty much strictly on outpost duty until the outpost is done. But in this situation, we're watching a bunch of these, we're seeing some dart shots, actually, from both teams.
The hero from the red team and the blue team now launching projectiles out the outpost.
Oh, there goes a dart. Misses. Yeah. Oh, there's another dart. Misses as well. Yep. No darts hitting yet. No connections yet to either base. Blue team is currently behind here. The drone for the red side able to do a little more damage to the Union University outpost. We're looking into seeing how does red team continue to come back. I mean, both drones are operational. That's clearly going to be like, they're even in that regard. I feel like the heroes haven't really gotten too involved yet, but as I'm speaking, red's hero is lining up the shot right now to take more shots on the outpost. And so is blue's hero.
Yeah, really both teams lobbing shots. The red team has taken the lead with these hero projectiles. He'll be forced back by, I believe, Blue Standard 3. Yes, confirmed. Blue Standard 3 there. Cutting to the camera is taken out.
And gets knocked out. I think a dart shot landed, by the way, Preston. Did you see all that health get dropped? Was that a dart shot or was that just a hero shot? Oh, that's just hero shot.
It's the hero. He's found it. Come on, one more. Oh, he runs out of projectiles. That's always the way it is. But he was able to dial it in. 160 HP remaining for the red team, 535 for the blue team.
The red team has a pretty sizable economy advantage currently on the blue team. More in their banks at the moment and able to spend more in general, as well as have collected more overall. As I say that, the blue team finally scores a little bit more cubes over there and gets a couple more econ ready to go. Red team's outpost is really weak right now. It takes one more hero shot or just even a couple of standard shots. And as I say
what
that,
is Blue Standard 3 doing?
Blue Standard 3...
Blue Standard 3 came down into their base with like 50 health remaining. I'm not sure what the play was there, as the outpost will fall for both teams. 5,000 HP on the base. It's going to be a game decided by base health.
Blue Standard 3 decided, you know what? I'm built different.
Hero 1 has 15 projectiles, 18, excuse me, and is starting to launch them across the court. Blue Standard 3 continuing to harass.
Still in the base. Didn't even go back to reload or heal or anything. Decided
oh my goodness, he hits! The Blue Hero 1, as I noted, 14 projectiles left, continuing to lob them across, lands another, bringing the base down to 4,400. Red Standard 3 needs to force that hero off. He's able to take that hero down, pausing the artillery fire, but they have done a significant amount of work.
Here we see the red dart opening, though. Can it land?
Just a little
bit short. Will they try another one? There goes another.
Ooh, that was closer.
Still a little short.
One more. Let's go.
Nah, they're
Ah.
closing it off. No more econ to do it with. That 0 gold currently. They just can't.
Red
afford
Hero
it.
won. The game is literally on his shoulders. 13 projectiles left. He needs to land several of these.
He's landed one.
They need a little bit of UI progress for their
Landed
next
2,
couple years.
3,
Or just
4,
they'll
even?
just rely on their hero skill.
and now Red
Oh
Team
my
is ahead
goodness.
now, and no one is taking him off. Blue Standard 3 is too low HP. It's gonna get knocked out by Red Standard 3 at this rate. It's not gonna be able to take the hero away. Both standards on the blue side incredibly low HP. Blue Standard 4 just decides, I don't want to play the objective. I'd rather team deathmatch with 1v3 and lose. Decides to just die out there when there's no point anymore. The red hero has already left, and now this is looking really bad.
Yeah, this is some
The standards are
classic
completely
low
out of
elo, some classic low elo MOBA play. Honestly, Blue Standard 3, Blue Standard 4 making the push after the play is over, dying after the objective is gone. Now Blue Hero 1, is that 33 projectiles? That's too many. That's too many. Your standard has 20 projectiles. What are you doing?
He's also just sitting there taking the damage from Red Standard 3. Good poking by Red
goodness.
Standard 3, making him leave that sniping zone.
Less than a minute left to play. Blue Hero 1 is at like a quarter health. Has all of the team's gold. This is a classic example of the fact that RoboMasters is in fact an esport and an engineering comp. Oh my goodness. The red team continue to chip away.
And no one's stopping Red Hero 1. The blue engineer is doing more to stop the objective than the blue standards. Where are they? They're not even on the field currently. Finally, Blue Standard 3 decides to show up and take out the red hero. It was
Or the drone or anything. Team Future absolutely just gobsmacked here at the end. They're landing. There was 14 seconds left to go. Technically, they could still catch up. 10 seconds left. It's no longer possible. I don't believe they're able to launch that many projectiles fast enough.
3, 2, 1. Not able to close it out. What an interesting game to showcase how the technology is not everything in this. It really truly is an esport. Like the blue standard just completely out of position so many times, so that they would not be ready to attack the red hero when it was on the offensive. They just didn't play the objective in this situation, like at all. Blue Standard 3 rushing to the red base at low health, staying after reviving, still at low health, to just harass, do some random damage here and there. Barely gaining anything for the team, no ground, no cover. And then Blue Standard 3 deciding, you know what, I'll do the same thing actually.
Yeah, this page really tells the tale. Right, so the econ is that first line. It's equal. Each team got 1850 gold, essentially. Right, but damage dealt almost double for the red team. Kills 10-2. Projectiles launched double on both 42 and 17 millimeter projectiles. Really, Future kind of fumbled the game here. As you said, their standards were not where they needed to be. They came to objectives after it was over. Their hero purchased all of the projectiles at the end of the game and then only launched probably 5. Both teams, I feel like, actually were extremely even in terms of mechanical performance, right? Their drones had incredible fire rates but struggled to land consistent damage on outposts. Their heroes were able to make long-range shots, but not so consistently that they could melt through a base. Yeah, 27% accuracy. In contrast, yesterday I think we saw as high as 45% from a hero robot. So a lower accuracy, right? But really better played by the University of Agriculture and Engineering here on Team Red.
Yeah, Team Singularity here. Just again, it was all positioning. I feel like if the blue standards positioned themselves a bit better throughout the match and didn't catch themselves out, like why was Blue Standard 3 at the red team's base? The outpost wasn't gone. The whole team was just waiting there for him. He dies. Okay, sure. Maybe the first time you made a misplay. You thought you could 1v4. First time on the field. I get it. However, you stay there after reviving just to get knocked out again. Like, what was the play? I don't understand. I can't fathom it, Preston.
All right, I've paused the video. I want to talk about this hero camera for a second. This VTM is, I think, on a gimbal, not or like a motorized mount, right? It has motorized pitch, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I have really mixed feelings about that. I feel like the software could fix my feelings though. So software wise,
Okay.
if I have a button to like free look, right? If you've played War Thunder or pretty much any game where you're ever in a cockpit, right? I mean, even back when I was a kid playing like Star Wars Squadrons or whatever it was called, right? You could hold down Q and you could look around. You could get free look.
Yeah.
If this is like that, if I can hold down Q and now I can move and look up and down for whatever reason, I'm not sure why you would really need to with the field of view of the VTMs. And then when I let go, the software snaps it back to level or in line with my barrel, parallel to the barrel, then I'm great with it. If you don't have that feature in software, I feel like this is a huge buff, like a huge nerf to your own team. You're gonna have such a difficult time aiming if every time you're looking on the map, your vision versus your barrel are different. If that angle is different every time you're firing at something, that's crazy to me. I've never seen a hero with a moving VTM.
We should watch it a little closer this time and see if it actually ends up maneuvering at all. Thanks for the follow, Glyphius. Welcome to the crew.
I mean, Shaur, am I missing something? Chat. Let me look at my
I feel like it has to be able to software lock back. I feel like it has to. Otherwise, it's like, what's even the point of this, right? Like, what do you gain from being able to free look except for messing up your own aim, right?
Yeah. Okay, so but even if it can snap back, right? Which I'm saying would alleviate my issues with it. It would erase my cons list. I still don't see a pros list.
Maybe you can like. I think maybe it's to see behind you or something. Yeah, I
Whoa.
personally I
The
don't. agree.
180 flip.
I
That's
think it's maybe
freaking
the
sick.
idea here, right? Because it's like if you can look behind you and then, because like let's say you know where it's in front of you, you know it's open, you can just keep driving forward. Like, this is something I do a lot in FPSs, right? I'll have like the ability, I'll look behind me just because I'm like, just in case
Bro,
someone's following me.
no way. There's
Okay.
no way.
But yeah,
That's
no way
sick,
exactly
but there's
doing that.
no way that that's what it does.
There's no way. I agree. That would be my thought process. That it's an instant 180 flip just to check behind you real quick and it comes back. That's how I would.
But it's at some random angle right now. I don't disagree with you. I think that's sick.
Yeah.
I think if you have
Well,
a
I
team
think-
right now and you're thinking about it, putting one in where you just have a button where, like, if you're in need for speed, right, and you can just like push spacebar to look backwards, heck yeah, right? But it's at some random, like, seemingly continuous angle. This doesn't look like a discrete, like, digital signal kind of thing where it's just got a position 1, position 2.
My hope is that it's because the robots are currently off, like they're not connected to the referee system, and when it does, it'll snap to the correct angle, and then the software allows it to go to the second angle. There's only 2 selections essentially.
Yeah.
That's my hope, right?
Oh, I got another one.
Okay.
What if the hero is CV enabled, and when CV, which is computer vision, when computer vision is aiming the tank for you, it automatically gives you free look so that your VTM stays steady, so that you can drive while the computer shoots.
So it's the other way around essentially. Like this is the driver cam stays centered.
Yeah.
While the gimbal can move around as much as it needs to actually fire, and you don't lose like your aim. That
Right.
could be interesting.
That way, when the computer's
very-
moving, that way it doesn't make you seasick. It doesn't it's not jarring while you're trying to drive. And I mean, you could get crazy with that if you gave that another axis of rotation. You could go full autonomous mode, and you could just be driving and drifting around, and the robot could just be launching projectiles at every bot that it thinks is viable.
I feel like that's worse on the hero though because it's sniping at these objectives, right? I feel like that's
Yeah,
you
but it's
don't need that.
Freaking sick idea.
It's an awesome idea. I think it'd be really good and actually fun. I think it'd be really good in the 3v3 format that we're currently in.
Yeah.
I think that's where it would really shine because there's no other objectives. You just want to attack things, right? And so being able to maneuver a very like heavy robot like the hero without having to worry about ever firing, and it will just always fire at the targets it sees. That I think is really good.
Yeah, we're just like toggleable, right? You can just turn, because most teams already have toggleable computer vision aim assist. But frankly, because most people's VTMs and barrels are permanently fixed in their relation, aim assist can be relatively jarring, and you don't want it on all of the time because you don't want the computer snapping to the left while you're trying to look right for driving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anywho, oh cool. I think we found some cool options. I don't disagree with you. Look back would be awesome. I think free look
That's
for
what I would
CV would
want.
be sick.
I want the Kratos God of War instant turnaround or the Last of Us instant turnaround. I think it's an amazing feature in both those
Yeah,
games.
I mean
Very
that could be cool
necessary.
too. Plus, for the hero, right? If you've lined up your shot and you're nailing it, you could
Yeah.
turn the camera around, or free look at that point, right? And still
Yeah.
look around you, make sure you're not getting flanked.
Yep.
As we
Yep.
dive into round 2.
Bases are closing up. Teams look to be having the same exact rollout. Curious to see what will happen next.
The
Referee
10th
system
anniversary of
implementation.
RoboMasters. Heck yeah.
It is the 10th anniversary of RoboMasters. We actually have this little fun 10 on our badges this year that are going to be at competition, so everyone will remember that.
Look, it's going to age me a little bit, but I've been here for more than half of it, and I'm kind of proud of that at this point.
That's awesome, actually. That's very cool.
Yeah, 2019 was my first season. So.
Let's go. The game has started. Again, the sentries did not get really involved in this previous match. There's the red sentry.
That's true, but I mean, their hardware is very impressive, and you know we talked about their game sense being a little off. These teams do strike me as teams. I mean, like you said, like 32nd in their region, right? I wouldn't expect these sentries to be extremely aggressive. Both drones, you can see on the mini map that red drone is in position already, starting to unload onto the robots, not aiming at the outpost, aiming at the blue standard 3 and blue standard 4 who are in the middle.
Trying to take out both blue standard 3 and blue standard 4 because the hero instead is actively going for the outpost instead. I think I actually like this strategy a bit more.
Blue standard 3 is finally taken out by a standard.
You take out the 2 robots that are dangerous to you, and then you let your hero take its time taking out the outpost. I think that's actually a very good strategy. I like that a lot. I like that use of the drone there.
Yes, especially with the hit percentage they were getting. I feel like this is a
Absolutely.
much more efficient use of their projectiles from the aerial.
Blue Standard 3 back online, used an instant revive. We have the dart launcher opening. Will we see
The hero for red team starting to chew through the outpost at the same time. The sentry coming online with double barrels, unloading on blue standard 3. Red winning the objective and the fight there.
Blue Standard 3 actually almost survived that through level ups, which is very funny to me. I love when that happens, when the level up barely gives you enough extra health to work with so that you can just barely survive.
Oh, this is so cool. Look at the top of your map. The red drone, which is now very close to your screen, is giving cover fire, allowing red standard 4, you can see in the bottom left hand of your screen. He's now in the base, doing shenanigans, causing mayhem, right? Just running around, I guess, getting some vision. And I fully expect him to make it all the way out as long as he keeps running. He's about to run out of projectiles. I called this a good play. Get out, buddy. Get out.
Knocks out the blue hero. Actually, very good play. Knocks out the blue hero.
Yeah.
That is their main objective taker. And currently, that means that they have to wait so much longer now, like 10 more seconds to even start to pursue the objective again.
Both teams.
The blue drone is out now too. Has double barrel on it? Or
No,
single-
you're seeing the
that was
stream
green.
from the other drone firing the other direction. Again, the gunner of the blue drone is struggling to land hits on this outpost. This is so many projectiles. We're probably
Yeah, but
talking
we kinda
less than
have to go
single
for
digit
it.
percentage accuracy.
I don't hate it in this case because you kind of have to go for it. Your hero has been knocked out like 3 times. It's like they're clearly gunning for it. They know, like, red team again is just playing this so much better, even with the same hardware. They're knocking out the hero. They're not letting it get through. They're not making this, like, this is another bold play.
Oh
from
my
Blue
goodness,
Blue.
blue
What is
standard
he doing
3.
here? Why do you keep coming here, man?
Michael,
This
thank
is
you for the
not
follow.
Wendy's.
That was so well timed because that is indeed what my face looks like. I would be fuming. I would be reporting my own teammates if that blue standard was on my team. The
He's
blue team
literally
again
running
putting.
it down mid.
What is he doing with
What is
22
happening?
projectiles? Sharp, blue hero has again all of the team gold, and I get it. Your standards are doing crazy things, but 22 projectiles in the hero.
Where even is the hero on the map right now?
He's
This
in his
dude
base.
Like, dog,
Blue standard 4 is holding the defensive position, but with 0 projectiles. He can't. The base now starting to take some damage. Red hero 1 out of projectiles has to go back to reload. It is under fire from the drone, but
damage on it, but it's missing everything.
yeah, the hit percentage just isn't there for the blue team using their aerial. I'm not sure where the disconnect is with that aerial too. It's firing at such a fast rate it should be fairly easy to adjust right on the fly, right?
I
You
want
can
to
see
point
I'm
out-
missing low and just aim higher.
Yeah, I want to point out as well.
Oh
Blue
my
Standard
gosh, they're
3 got
griefing.
knocked
Red
out
Standard
with, like,
4 now in the base of the blue team, launching projectiles at their robots in their respawn. He's spawn camping. He's trying to get kills in the fountain just for the
hero
meme.
is literally like shooting out. It's shot out 10 projectiles from its base at this red standard 4 because none of its standards are helping it. It is literally alone in this world.
Yeah.
Hero is the
Oh my
only
goodness, the sentry. Look at the sentry for the red team. He's got both of these standards handled. Blue Standard 3, Blue Standard 4 are in the other team's base for no reason. When they respawn, they're then met by the sentry, who deletes both of them, and now is resupplying. That's a great sentry. Wow.
Blue Standard 3 has died so many times. He has over a minute of respawn.
Yeah, we got to give a
haven't
shout out
even
to this
seen
red
that
hero
before.
as he continues to chonk through the base. We're now in that view. Is this the hero that has the moving camera? Because that would
Yes.
explain. Yeah, the aiming reticle doesn't line up at all with where the projectiles are going, and I was very confused, but that makes more sense.
Maybe he's just the GOAT. Maybe he just knows.
You know what? I'm not against it. Look, he's landing. He's landing most
It's
of
like,
his hits.
like you know, Obi-Wan comes to Luke at the Death Star run is like use the Force. That's what
Yeah.
that's what Red
He's
Standard
just
1
closing
did.
his
The Red
eyes.
Standard 1
He's
did.
landing them.
Red Standard 4 again coming back to grief the blue hero.
Yeah.
Why are you taking this engagement? Okay, blue hero is also trolling a little bit. You stayed in his base the entire time. You're fighting Red Standard 4. Just move past it. He's not doing anything to you. He's not attacking you.
Could
He
though.
doesn't-
Like as soon as he steps out, yeah, there it is. As soon as he steps out, I expect him to just melt. Yep, he's dead. Dead.
That was kind of wild. I
Yeah.
expected him to melt instantly.
Honestly, I don't really blame the blue hero at this point. That's what I fully expected to happen. Red Standard 4 is just spawn camping. He's not wasting projectiles because of the healing, the passive healing that happens in their base. But as soon as that hero stepped out,
This
he
Blue
was
Standard 3
absolutely new.
also, like, just kind of firing whenever he feels like it. Not really, the Blue Sentry not really aiming, it feels like, at the hero here.
Okay, Blue Hero 1 now has 30 projectiles and should totally be launching them at Red Standard 4. I think he is, they're just not landing, I guess.
I think the problem also is that because Blue Hero 1 has taken all the econ, neither
Yeah.
Blue Standard 3 or 4 can get any projectiles. Not like they were being very useful, but maybe they would become a little more useful in your base area if they had the ability to utilize
80-second death timer. Red Standard 4 has farmed another kill as the hero continues to just actually put in the work. 46 projectiles in the sentry on the resupply for the red team. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. I don't think this game was actually as big of a throw from blue as it was red just stepping up.
I have to disagree with you. Blue
Okay,
Standard
okay, that's
3
great.
got
I'm glad
lost
that you
in
do.
Blue Standard 3 got lost in the red base
Yeah.
at like minute 4
Yep.
and didn't ever get back to the resupply zone. Just could not get back at any point.
Super
Because he
true.
was so out of position, never purchased projectiles, and because the blue hero obviously not a dueling robot, it's meant for objectives. Because it couldn't leave its own fountain, you lose the objective essentially. Because Blue Standard 3 was chasing some modicum of glory, running it down mid, inting as hard as
guess.
possible, like that's a huge throw, right? Like you essentially were down a standard, and then your other standard decided to join him there because
Okay.
that's a better idea.
All right. Hear me out though, Shaur. I said it wasn't a worse. I said it wasn't a worse throw by blue. Take a look at these stats. Blue actually fired more 42 and 17 millimeter projectiles in this round than they did in the previous round. They had
This is
less
true.
gold. They fired more. They got the same number of kills. I don't think blue threw any harder. I think a couple key differences from how red played better. I think, is it Team Singularity? Is that the red
Yes,
team's
Team
name in English?
Singularity
I
is
think
the
Team
red team.
Singularity, their sentry was so freaking good this round. When Blue 3 and Blue 4 came over, just like they did in round 1, right? They still came and did their dumb, hey, I'll just go get vision, and then they died in the enemy jungle, right? They came on over, they get nuked. This time, the sentry just keeps spawn killing them. Every time they revive, it just keeps firing at them through the little period of invincibility. They're not able to get out of the base. They get taken down again. Their death timers got so big that they did get trapped over there. The sentry used all 750 projectiles. It had to resupply. Like, it nuked them absolutely
But
nuked him.
like, I would say that's the reason why I say this is a worse throw. I think because if you like the thing that gets me right, this last stat in the bottom, the 50 projectiles launched from the hero,
Yeah.
right? Look at how much like they launched a lot more projectiles. Look how much damage they did. They missed everything.
Yeah, they missed
Not a
everything.
single thing landed.
They missed
Like,
everything. Okay, so I
yeah,
think most of those 42mm projectiles were from the hero from the blue side base. I think Team Future, I think he was just sitting there trying desperately to
beat
land a
that
hit
standard.
on
To
Red
hit
Standard
that-
4.
Just to beat Red Standard 4. And I just like it just didn't work out at all.
Never gonna happen. A level
And it's
10
never
standard
gonna happen.
never loses a 1v1 against a level 10 hero. Like,
It never happens. It's impossible. And the reason that he got in that situation is because both his standards decided that they wanted to be red team members today and go to the other side of the base.
yeah,
I
it was
truly
it was
believe.
a bit of a 1v9. I loved, this is the other moment that I wanted to talk about from Red really improving.
Yeah.
This clip right here, this screen, the minus 200 on the outpost. They're finally using their hero on the outpost to start.
Yep.
Round 1, they tried to use their drone at the beginning. Both teams just sat there and just kind of urinated projectiles all over the floor, like missing so bad. It was like a middle school boys' bathroom in there. There was just pee everywhere except for the toilet. Both drones were just dumping the mags, but not landing anything. So the hero is hitting the outpost, doing a great job. The drone is doing what I think he should have been doing anyway. Gets like basically a double kill. I think the standard technically finishes off blue standard 3, getting the kill, which is even better. But really kind of catapults his team early. And then the sentry, you just saw one sentry kill there. The drone again giving cover fire for red standard 4 as it went into the base. And then again, the double-barreled sentry taking him down. And from there, it was over. But those are the small changes I think that Team Singularity made, in my opinion, were so impressive. Okay, red standard 4, MVP.
Yeah, sure. I can
Sure.
agree with that.
But they have the best stats, right? But they were stat farming.
They literally locked down the entire blue team by just standing there. They shot like 4 projectiles entirely during that time.
Okay, so
I
who's
think
your
that's
MVP?
amazing.
Let's switch back over to Shaur and Preston, the geniuses of RoboMasters. Let's pretend that we are actually the best at this game. Who do you think?
As someone who has driven, as someone who has watched a lot of this game at this point, commentated a decent amount, watched even more, the red hero is obviously the MVP because it beat up both the outposts of the base single-handedly. But to give red standard 4 credit, and this is what I think was the big difference between blue standard 4 and red standard 4. Blue standard 3. Blue standard 3 said, "Oh, we're losing. I'm going to go 1v5." Red standard 4 went, "Oh, we're winning. Let me keep them locked down because their standards left for no reason." Like that's the difference between good game sense and good positioning versus bad game sense and bad positioning in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I do want to say red standard 4, amazing awareness to be like, the only way they win is if the hero is uncontested. Let me just keep him locked down the entire rest of the game. Genius play. Does not take away from the fact that Red Hero 1 was the Singularity hero did all the objective damage by himself and just kind of coasted to victory because he was always positioned well and never in line of fire for the blue standard 3 and blue standard 4. Also, shout out the drone because the drone suppression fire is a really good idea, and I think that that's really what got them the edge at the beginning of the match.
For sure, those early kills were huge, and then that moment where red standard 4 went in 1v2 on the enemy base, but then had cover fire, was able to get the hero out. Setting, because blue hero was actually decent. Like there's nothing, there wasn't anything terrible about blue hero round 1 or round 2. I think, like you pointed out, he didn't have a lot of teammates. So yeah, he was purchasing all of the projectiles, but if you think your team's just going to waste them, right, it's just going to be dead the whole time, you might as well take all the gold. So yeah.
80-second respawn timer. Preston, I haven't seen that before. I've never
It's
seen
only a 5-minute game,
timer.
bro. Like,
that's crazy.
He was literally playing Gray Screen Simulator. Like, it's not even a meme. The guy played more Death Cam than he did actual game.
I thought, and the thing is, he hit the 80 seconds twice. What does it cap out at? It has to cap out eventually, right? There's no way that I feel like he must have maxed it.
It probably just caps out at like whatever the actual maximum. Like if you died on the second every time you revived, it probably can only get to like 120 seconds or something. It can't. He must have been close.
He was incredibly close. He spent most of that game dead. I'm gonna go back through the VOD later, and I'm gonna just like count the percentage of time that he is not alive in that match because
We
I
could
think
make
it's
some really mean
hilarious.
memes. We will not.
Oh,
Rep is not. It's not a channel that we've made to cyberbully drivers. I get it. That guy's probably an engineer. Different teams
Yeah,
have
yeah.
different philosophies on who should be able to be the drivers for the team. Some teams let it be their best engineers to motivate their engineers throughout the year. Awesome. Love it.
I will say, I get it. It's a stressful competition. I want to clarify before the people in chat go, Shaur, you're so evil, you're so mean. What the heck? We've never seen this side of you. First off, I get it. It's a hard competition. I've driven. I've made some horrible decisions while driving. I've made some very good decisions while driving. This happens. It's part of the territory, right? Do I think that it's excusable to have an 80-second death timer? Not necessarily. I think you definitely made some bad calls, and having it happen twice is quite wild. However, it's a learning opportunity for the Blue Standard driver. I hope that he continues forward and grows in that role. I think that he can do well. He clearly has the aim ability. He clearly has some amount of awareness of positioning. He did some good positioning in the beginning of each match, taking the center point. I will put that out there. But yeah, that's my personal take. I think that like that's a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
No. All right. So, chat. Maybe philosophies isn't the perfect word to describe this like decision making matrix that teams have on how to pick drivers. Shaur, what is your preferred method? Who do you think should drive? Because we've seen, and let me catch up, chat, because I don't know what they know, and I don't know what you know. So if there's other methods that you're aware of that are actively being used, please jump in. But I've personally seen teams that let like team leads drive. I've seen teams that let like the most active members drive. Lots of teams, frankly, just let the people drive that can attend comp.
So here's my philosophy, right? On driver selection. I think there's 3 categories.
Whoa, wait. Michael said in chat he has to pick his drivers tomorrow. So make sure you're being real careful with how you tell him to pick drivers. The fate of his team is in your hands. What you got?
I'll go with the first thing that I always look at is who knows the rules, right? The real thing that gets you at like our level of competition, because you're not going to be playing RMUC like this kind of level, right? You're playing RMNA. Play for the rules is the first thing. You need to know what are the rules, what are the penalties, how do you foul intentionally to be good, and how do you avoid fouls, right? Because that's going to happen to you if you yellow card the entire time, right? Because you bump into things, you're not quite accurate, whatever, right? Not knowing the rules is going to get you pretty hard. Second thing is if you have robots built, which you should, it is May. We're talking about a month for competition. Just do a quick driver's tryout. Do like set up an obstacle course, let them maneuver through, right? See who has the like ability to maneuver through, see who uses like if you have super caps, uses the sprint, uses so on and so forth, does all that good stuff. Maybe do an aim test, although I think aim is a little overrated in RMNA because my hot take here.
Did you just watch that last game? What are you talking about?
That's
Aim
the
is
RMNA.
overrated.
That's the RMNA. I think I was explicitly saying in RMNA, I don't think you need the best aim because the field is so small. You're in these close engagements anyways. Like, it's not that hard to get quite a few shots.
The projectiles
right?
bounce.
The projectiles bounce everywhere. Like, you're going to hit stuff, right? And the third thing, if you really want to get granular with it, you should pick people that are young on the team and will have time to grow their skills throughout the next couple of years on the team. Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to run into finding an Elizabeth. I'm gonna shout out the Tamu driver. You're gonna run into an Elizabeth who is crazy cracked on the sticks, amazing at driving, great at everything, and she's a sophomore. So you get her for 2 more years on top of that, and she's just gonna get better as she plays more and more. Right? That's what I would personally put as like your 3 criteria. Pick someone young that you'll have for a while. Pick someone who passionate about the rules, knows them really well, and pick someone who like just do a quick little aptitude test and make sure they actually know what a keyboard is, right? Like that's my 3 criteria.
All right, so let me give some cool examples that I got to see on A&M side. Shout out to John. There was a year really where A&M strategy stepped up, and that's because John, I mean, frankly, when he was in the role, I bet he's listening to this. If he's not live right now, he's great about watching all of our stuff after. So John, I think he knows exactly how I mean this. But the year that he was in this role, I did not fully appreciate his role. I thought he was trying to be too controlling. He was our strategy lead. All right. And I was like, bro, you're kind of overstepping sometimes. You seem like you want to have full creative control over every robot so that it can have a cohesive strategy, which I get, but like at the end of the day, there's other people that are gonna try and design these robots and do the code and whatever, right? But John did a phenomenal job of taking that role as strategy lead so serious and treat it like an esport. He was the coach. He didn't drive, he coached. So he did, let me give you an example of some of the things that this man did. This is way back. This is like probably, I don't know what, John, 2021. So this is early Texas A&M. We didn't have bots. We didn't have bots that was plural in May. Okay, we had bot, so you could do driving test and maybe even shooting test, but probably not driving and shooting test, right? We were a young team. It was tough. We were struggling. But what we did have was a pair of S1s. So our drivers would do S1 practice. They would fight each other in the S1s. Once a week, they would actually just have a video game night where they'd play through different strategy-based games together, because the communication is so important, especially in 3v3s, when you and your partner are trying to figure out when to go in and when to pull back, right? We saw it with Blue Standard 3 and Red Standard 3 in this last game, or Red Standard 4. They both did the same play, but one had support and one was in a 1v3, right? Like, knowing when you're pushing, when you're going back, who's buying how much gold. There's a lot of communication that needs to happen. So I do want to just shout out, John did a great job with those things where our team didn't have the robotics resources yet, but he just came at it from the esports side and said, okay, if we were an esport, he also did things like chess puzzles, right? But not chess. Instead, you take freeze frames from RoboMasters games and you just say, hey, like, if you're blue team here, you're losing, what do you do to turn it around? Like, what's the play from here? And it's really cool if you pick games where, like, sometimes there's a comeback, because then you can just pause it and you can show them a YouTube and you can do, like, team meetings with your drivers. And you can say, okay, your red team, how do you close this game out? Like, how do you make sure you don't throw? Your blue team, how do you come back? And you hit play and you let them see, or you watch a match and have them explain what was done wrong. I mean, we do it all the time, right, Shaur? And I think it's actually helpful.
I was going to actually add on to that last part about watching old matches. This is a well-known thing in esports and all kinds of like sports. You watch what you did, you take notes, and that is at least got to be 40-50% of your practice for driving. Like, you got to put in a lot of effort on it, because like you'll catch so much more and you'll be thinking about it, right? It'll like seep into your brain essentially. So when you're in those situations, you're not going to be lost. You're not going to be confused. You're not going to have to make split-second decisions. You'll know, oh, this is the play in this situation. I've seen something similar to this before. You want to reduce how much actual thought you have to do while you're driving. When you're driving, it should be very high level, strategy oriented thinking. You don't want to be doing low level, like, oh, where do I go immediately now? Where's my next position? Where's my next position? You want the like strategies to be figured out. You want to know what the like kind of relative pace of the game is, what your relative pace is, because it will change depending on who your opponent is. You want to know all that ahead of time. I do think 1 million hours of RoboSouls could probably be helpful. Sure. Shout out for RoboSouls. We're planning something special with that soon, and I'll probably announce that sometime in the next couple of days. But yeah, I would say rewatch old matches and also listen. Like, this is not a plug, I promise. Listen to me, Preston, Matt, all the other commentators when you're rewatching matches. We say some pretty golden nuggets of advice on where things went wrong, because we're watching the high level the whole time. Yeah. Like, if you think about how much me and Preston watched them, we watched this in our off time after work, like literally 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I was texting Preston, I'm like, let's watch RoboMasters. That's what we do. We do this for the love of the game, right? Yeah. And I'm not going to say everything we say is like amazing advice, but we've watched enough that we've seen, like, we know what good looks like, and we can help you by just listening to what we say. This actually happened at Tambu, didn't it? Where they were like, you need to stop giving the advice to the teams, because
early in RMNA, the headphones weren't great for the drivers, and they'd be like, yo, y'all got to stop saying stuff because the drivers are reacting to it. A couple more things while we're just dumping for like the teams that are here. Like, if y'all pay attention, you're welcome. I know that sounds really cocky, but I mean, Shaur's not wrong. We watch more RoboMasters, I promise, than anyone else. We watch it multiple times. Shaur's watching old stuff again right now to pull up stats. I rewatched every finals of every year, every semifinals, and every quarterfinals this year to do that podcast on UW's run. Like, I have gone through the history. I now know what there is to know. To do that run, I also reread the rules manuals for each year to like figure out why is UW doing this year. Um, One of the things that I really wanted to point out about is, and please just let these words enter your brain. You need to be more realistic
Right.
when you look at teams, right? Your team might not, your esports strategy is based on your robotic performance, right? You can't just look at what's meta right now. There's different meta for different tiers of teams.
Yeah.
Somewhere where I think A&M really fell short when they went to China, they did fantastic, better than most international teams have ever done in China, better than I ever did in China, right? But they had so much wasted potential because they attacked the game like every other RMUC team. If they came into it and said, okay, our engineer can't get cubes, that means we're playing on a fixed income. If they had just waited for the outpost panels to stop spinning, which at that year was on a timer, they totally would have won their matches. They had better accuracy, they won every fight, but they wasted so much gold launching hero projectiles at spinning panels. And I mean, shout out to the freaking driver. He landed enough of them. They like got an outpost kill. It was awesome. They did fantastic. But that was a great example of a team that just didn't realistically evaluate their current robotic skill, and so they picked the wrong esport meta, and it happens all the time in RMNA, all the time.
I think the unique aspect of Robots and why I love robotics esports is because you pick a fighting game. I'm gonna pick fighting games because that's my niche. If I pick up Mortal Kombat, I don't know Mortal Kombat that well. If I pick up Street Fighter and I go, oh, I'm gonna play Ken, right?
Yeah.
I have to play to the strengths and the weaknesses of Ken. You guys essentially have to evaluate your robots like characters. What are the strengths and weaknesses of your robots? Again, you can design for the moon. You're not going to hit it every time, though. You will have a weakness on your robot, like design-wise. A lot of teams last year, the bump killed them. How do you adapt to the bump is your question, right? Easiest way in my mind, you take a little bit of damage going out. This is for last year's rule. This doesn't work anymore because you don't take damage anymore from overpowering. You just get your chassis shut down. But last year, what my strategy and what I told teams was take a little bit of damage coming out of the base, because once you're out of the base, you're in the game, right? Yeah. You have to play to your character, essentially. And your character is your robot, and you're going to have faults. I'm sorry, like it's going to happen. You can't design. If the perfect robot could be designed for Robomasters, it would have already happened, and we would never see any iteration again. Everyone would just use that design.
Okay, sure. Counterpoint here is there really are diminishing returns on robot performance.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're right. None of the robots are perfect. But I have preached for years on my team that once your robot consistently drives and shoots, has high accuracy and good driving performance, smooth, not jittery, your PID is tuned well, that stuff, that adding additional things, right? Yes, you get good, you get a lot of value out of a super cap. You get a chunk of value out of CV. Mm-hmm. Not nearly as much value as good driving and good shooting.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, NUS is the prime example of that.
100%. 100%. Yeah. They don't even spin that fast, which I think plays to a benefit to them. They just freaking kill it. It's awesome.
Spin. They just dodge. They just maneuver. It's awesome. So much better for them.
But once you're past that point, or like at that point, for years, every time I was in a leadership meeting, everyone that was in leadership with me probably doesn't watch streams anymore because they're probably sick and tired of hearing me talk. My point when we were all talking about it would be, look, why are we so concerned about trying to get CV on the hero when back in the day it just launched at buildings? Let's just get a hero that never jams. Shout out hero last year in A&M jamming while it's aiming at the base, right? Like, if your hero doesn't jam, you get a lot more out of your bang for your buck than if you have CV and it's aiming really, really good right at that armor panel, but it can't launch anything.
You won't waste econ because if you jam, congratulations. All of those software projectiles you purchase, you can't sell them. They're stuck on that hero and you can't fire them. So this actually happens to VT in the VT UW match, if you remember, Preston. The 2021 year, their hero jams, and that's what cost them that round. They were going to win otherwise.
It's tough. Those early years were crazy, man. Those early years were really crazy. I mean, functionality, reliability, definitely the most prized possession.
Yep, absolutely.
Fun tangents, Chat, thanks for
Fun
hanging
fact.
out on those tangents. Hopefully you gained something from them, or at the very least you just enjoyed them. Uh, Overall, well, let me last a little bit because we were talking about different ways of picking drivers. There's another
Yeah.
option. There are teams both internationally and in RMNA that just pick good drivers that have nothing to do with RoboMasters,
Yeah.
and that's not a bad thing. It's also not exclusive to RoboMasters. I know our Formula One team at A&M is renowned. They do fantastic every year, and they have driver tryouts. Right? It's not like, oh, who did the most work building the Formula One car? No, it's some dude that has been driving go karts in an amateur league since he was 6 and is now like a Formula 3 driver. And he's like, oh, cool, you know, like it, I know
Yeah,
there are
you want to get
teams that would
Charles
just
Leclerc.
yeah, you could just put an esports team from your school on the crew. Like
Yeah.
it'll give you quite a bit of it'll let you punch well above your weight class in
Yeah.
robot
Yeah.
performance.
I mean, that's the again, I love NUS, so I constantly bring them up. Their drivers CS:GO hours are like insane, and they're like crazy good at it too. And that's part of the reason why they're so strong when they're like in 1v1 and 3v3. It's that they
Char,
just have amazing practice with it.
we have few enough viewers at this point right now because we
Mhm.
just started the rep channel that I
Mhm.
think I can ask without just exploding at least
Yeah.
my perception of the is NUS just the commentator's favorite at this point? For
It's a
lots of, and
little bit
we can dive
true.
really deep into why because chat, I promise it's nothing like you're thinking. But is that true? Like just yes or no, do you feel like that's just generally the media team's favorite team?
It's kind of true. I think it's kind of true. I think there's really good reasons for it. I mean, now I kind of want to dive into it a tiny bit just to give some. They are kind of everyone's favorite, is the thing. So the reason why I think NUS gets so much like love from everybody is because one, they are so polite and respectful. Every match they have been put in semifinals and finals went horribly wrong in some way or another. Never complained. Never complained. I genuinely in
Bro, at least not in
2023
English. Yeah,
at least not at least they seem very respectful,
they
right?
do.
And I
Yep.
feel like they are, right? They feel very nice. They're very cooperative, collaborative. The second thing that I think really like gets people on their side is that it's like they really felt like underdogs that 2022 year and did so well, right? Like out of nowhere. And they come back from 23, they still do exceptionally well. That one round against UW, and again, this is not because I hate UW or anything. I love UW as well. I think UW is a very, very good team to have as like the top team right now. It pushes everyone to do better. But NUS taking that round, even if it didn't count, I know people will get mad at me. Oh, the RFID plates, whatever. Okay, I don't care anymore. The fact that it happened was
Yeah.
so amazing. It felt so amazing to watch that. UW has not lost a round since 2021 in a recorded match.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it almost happened for real last year. That was
And
amazing.
you know when the match they lost previously in a non-recorded round was? It was the NUS. Okay,
Exactly.
100% agree with everything you've said. And to
Yep.
kind of add on to that, to continue to just stack reasons, because it NUS was not always everyone's favorite. I think
Yep.
Steven loved them forever. Like the first
Yeah.
year I heard about NUS, I think I heard about them from Steven. And he was like,
Yeah.
NUS, they're gonna be so good. And I was like, all right.
Steven was very excited
Yeah,
about
he's
it.
been
And
an
that's something
NUS stan.
Steven has kind of also got us all because Steven has talked a lot about NUS and how much he loved it, especially before that 2023-2024 season.
Yeah.
And he was like, NUS can be great. He's kind of actually got me on the OEDO Samurai hype for that same reason because we've been talking a lot about them coming because they're the new team. And I'm like, this could become the next NUS style where it's
Could
like
be. Could
foreign team
be.
popping. I think another thing is that it's like, so I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was
No,
just
no,
going to say
no.
one last thing. The fact that RMNA is kind of a misnomer because we're not just North America, right? Teams like NUS, teams like OEDO Samurai, teams like Nagoya, those teams, when they show up and they compete, it feels just a little more special. It feels like they're coming all this way to compete against us and they're doing well. And it's like, it feels like we're fostering a truly international community when these teams arrive. And so I don't know. It just feels like I love the ability to meet kind of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and that makes me endeared to them because I'm like, when I have a conversation with them, and the common language is robotics, right? That's beautiful to me. That I'm
Yeah.
like, you're halfway across the world, and you and I have the same passion for the driving, for the rules, for the love of the game, right? Oh, it's all amazing.
And I do want to
That's why I love them.
clarify. I do want to clarify when I say like the media team's favorite, right? It's
Mhm.
not like a biased thing. Like Char's pointing out, this isn't like they're our favorite to win or we want them to win
Yeah,
or we're like coaching them or giving them special tips or anything like that.
nah.
it's just they've hit on so many, like, we could, you know what, Shaur?
Mm-hmm.
We could, season 2 of the RoboMasters anime really could be the NUS story. I mean, you've
Oh,
mentioned the
absolutely.
RFID gate, right? The year before that, they had the 6 timeout TAMU team, right? As a TAMU alum who freaking still loves Texas A&M's RoboMasters team, it's my favorite thing about Texas A&M, 100%. Absolutely love it. I'm so hopeful for them every year because I see what the robots can do. I'm still in their servers. I know they could do extremely well, right? Even with all of that, oh my gosh, like it was just abhorrent. Just the happenstances of that game was just ridiculous. And
It wasn't
and
even Tamu's fault entirely. Like, I'm
it
not gonna
wasn't.
blame
It
Tamu
wasn't.
here.
No,
It
I'm not
wasn't their
saying
fault.
Tamu did something terrible. It's just that
Yeah,
game against Texas A&M was just so atrocious
catastrophe.
for NUS. Like it just
Yeah.
was. Um and one of the last things I'll say about NUS is they're very strategy unique, which for a media team makes them really fun to commentate and talk about and watch. They have robots that are built different. They have strategies that are different. They're just mag dumping for XP. They're not spinning. Their sentry only spins what it's fired at, right? I mean, they're the team that was shooting at people in blue jeans on the field because they really did accept that, like, hey, you know what? A CV model that just shoots at blue is better than a CV model that doesn't shoot at all, which is what we've been saying for freaking years, right? I mean, we've been saying if your sentry doesn't shoot, just have it on a timer and just launch random projectiles towards the enemy's side of the map because who cares,
Yep, yep.
right? The intimidation factor is real. So lots and lots of reasons, and we don't need to spend the whole thing on it, but
No.
100% NUS, awesome team. I'm so pumped they're coming back.
When I heard originally they weren't gonna be here this year, I was like, ah, I was like heartbroken. But then I heard the comment, I was like,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
And while we're on the topic, because you mentioned that you don't hate UW, I don't understand why people think that I hate UW. I've heard it, but to be fair, I think, and it's cool, Shaur. Let me take it from a positive perspective. It's cool that our stream is now, not this one yet, but like our stream, you and me and the whole media team is now big
Mhm.
enough. Then I'm like, okay, the audience, we hit over 10,000 views a year. We now have a big enough audience
Yes.
that there are outliers. It statistically there are now outliers. I hear people that are mad at how much I hate A&M, that are mad at how much I
That
hate
one's funny.
UW, that are mad about how much I hate just every team. And I'm like, okay, I'll try and be more positive when I'm commentating. It's something I'm working on,
Mhm.
commentating the matches from a more positive light in general, remembering that someone's mom is watching, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, I freaking love UW. I think they've done great. They help run the event every year. They're most of the alum on the staff and the operations team. I follow their Instagram and work with their media team. I mean, they're just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I did a whole podcast, like made the thing and produced a podcast this year on why they've won every year. I think they do an awesome job. They really are at this point a huge percentage of helping RMNA survive every year and grow every year. Obviously, I love A&M as a team. They're freaking awesome. I love watching the standard progress. They've had the best standard, if I may say so myself.
Mhm.
Okay, even though like everyone will tell you from A&M side, very rightfully so, the standard I built was a really crappy standard. But foundationally, I'm really proud of the team that I built more than the robot that I built. All of those members have gone on to do amazing things in the team and now are out in industry doing awesome stuff. I mean, it's just every team that comes to RoboMasters, there's not a single team that I don't like. Like they're all freaking
I have
amazing
to
for
agree.
very real reasons. It's not like, oh, I've never met an engineer I don't like. That's not true. I've met plenty of engineers I don't like. I was a TA for 3 years. I know so many engineers at A&M that I don't like. All right, there are so many, but they don't make it into RoboMasters because it's
Yeah.
so tough and it's so hard and it takes a certain type of person to sacrifice your summer and your money and your time and your grades and just like your mental sanity to be a
Mhm.
part of a team. And I, yeah, genuinely love meeting all of the teams and seeing their robots. So
Yeah. I was
weird
gonna
monologue, but there
we
you
keep
go.
monologuing, and I know we keep going back and forth, but I'm loving this is what the rep is for, right? This is what the channel's for. I was gonna add one thing because you kind of mentioned this as well. I feel like our media team, everyone but me at this point, gets accused a lot of Tamu hate, which I think is very interesting because a majority of the commentary is Tamu alumni.
I have a comment when you're done. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you
Okay,
finish, but
let me finish. Yeah, yeah, let me finish. So in addressing the UW stuff first, I think I want to first preface with that UW is like instrumental, like you mentioned, to RMNA even as a community, right? Like they put out tons of stuff constantly. They're like showcasing 4 different presentations at RMTC this year, and 3 of them are just like, here's how you get your robot off the ground, controls wise, CV wise, mechanical wise. And I think that's amazing. Like they're putting all these resources back in the community for no one else's benefit, right? They just want to play the best possible game they can. I think the perception sometimes is that, oh, we don't brag on them. I think that's what ends up happening. We don't brag on them because they're the best, and it's not close. Like I hate to break it to everyone. I guess I don't really hate to break it because I'm breaking it because I'm like,
Whoa,
oh, this is
hold
like
up now. What do you mean it's not close?
in 3v3? Like
this year is close. Don't even.
Year could be close.
You wouldn't bet me like any substantial amount of money that UW wins. If the betting line was either UW wins or UW doesn't, I don't think you'd take that. Like if I had to bet a different team, sure, you take it all day, right? Like UW or TAMU, you'd take it all day UW. Yeah. But if it's UW or anyone else, are you really taking that action? That's crazy.
The reason why I say yes, Preston, I am gonna take that bet. The reason why I say let me get through this, right? I feel like every year we go into it, like I don't even think necessarily UW has the best technology or the best drivers or the best any one specific thing. I think what ends up happening every year is that UW, just as a whole, ends up being the most consistent every time. Like they don't play bad games. This is so the way I compare this is Armada from Melee, right? His D game, right? Not his A game, not his B game, not his D game was so good that he didn't need to ever play at the top level. He doesn't need the best technology. He doesn't need the best drivers. He doesn't need any of that. He could always win. Like TAMU, best standard. VT, best hero. VT looks like they might have the best Sentry this year based on what we saw at Midwest, right? CU probably, though, I would say has best Sentry overall from last year, right? You look at these teams, they have the technology. They have all this other extra stuff going on. CU is moving around, jumping around. Why did CU lose to UW? Reliability, consistency, and overextension. UW doesn't make that mistake. That's why I'm like, I still would take that bet because I don't like UW is never going to make the mistake against you. You have to force them to. And I don't think teams are there yet to force them. I want them to be. Preston, I so badly would want to lose the money on this. I would be so happy.
Are you ready?
I'm hearing you out.
Listen up, Shaur. Frankly.
Yeah.
Yes. But I pride myself in not getting caught up in that hype for the previous years. When you're saying like, like we say this every year, I have not been. Never have I ever been one of the stands that says, oh, this is totally CU's year to take down A&M. It's said ever to take down UW. It's said every year. Mm-hmm. Not by me. Clip it, chat. Go find it. It might be somewhere. I say a lot of things. I talk for a lot of hours. Maybe during one of the timeouts I say it. But I've said it about NUS. Maybe once or twice. Not as like this is their year, but like they could have a shot at the crown. Like that's crazy. This year though, every year, right? Each team gets slightly better.
Yeah.
Typically, some teams get worse some years. This year there are so many teams that are one item away. Right? UW is not, in my opinion, getting substantially better every year. They are getting slightly better every year. But mostly, like you're saying, they have really reliable bots. They do great engineering. And I'm not saying that each year's engineers aren't like awesome. I'm just saying they're building robots that are still just top tier, right?
Yeah,
exactly. They're adjusting to the rules just like they did the year before, and that's awesome. They have reliable robots just like the year before, and that's awesome. They're staying up there. They're not decaying, which is sick.
They're the meta, yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like there are now probably 5 teams who just this year needed to fix one thing. Mm-hmm. I agree with you that for some reason, a lot of these teams will have unfixed something. A&M is famous for their Sentry now, at least to me, working great for 1 year and then never launching a projectile again at a robot. It's been 3 years, guys. I see videos of it every year. I get sent videos of it every year where they're like, look, it totally shoots at bots now. And I'm like, awesome. And then we get to comp 0. All right. I get it. There are teams that might take a step back, but there's so many. Like if CU, right? If they don't get their robot stolen and they don't stick a zip tie in their stinking hopper and they they make it out of groups and don't lose the RHIT, right? There's like all these crazy outlandish things that have happened to CU. If NUS just has a clean run where their sentry works in every game, I think they've got a shot, a low percentage shot, right? Like let's call it 15%, right? I think if A&M Sentry works, I think they've got a 15% shot. And to me, there are so many teams now that I still think UW is probably the favorite. But like if we were talking more than like $100, like if you said something crazy, right? And I'm not trying to goad you into making a bet precisely because I don't want to, but I'm just saying like if we made some outlandish bet where like if I lost I had to eat, like only eat like McDonald's for an entire year or something, something stupid, I would not make that bet on UW just because there's such a percent now that they lose. I would just not take the bet at all. Like I'm not saying I would bet on the other teams. I just don't think it's a sure thing anymore, which is my whole objection to your comment.
I can believe in that. I actually think there's one team specifically that this year I'm really keeping my eye on, and I think they've kind of like, I'm not going to say they've gone under the radar by any means because they haven't, but I think people just for some reason don't include them in this conversation. I don't know why. I think it's us a little bit too.
My mic just fell off of its thing. I'm fine. Shaur, look, I know it's not what you're going to say, so I'm going to interrupt you right here because I want to say it. Yeah. It would be my favorite thing in the whole world if your answer right now was Georgia Tech. If they just didn't ever show up to comp for 3 years straight, and then they finally show up and they've just been cooking for 5 years.
I would genuinely celebrate. That would be amazing. I'd be so happy.
You were just talking about being under the radar, and I'm like, no one's more under the radar than Georgia Tech at this point.
Have we seen their robot ever? I really want to.
I haven't seen their stuff ever.
I would love to see it.
Like, I mean, I could cheat. I could probably pull up their like midterm assessment or something, but if it's not public, then we couldn't really do anything with it. Also, chat, I just want y'all to know that's not my bed. This is our guest bedroom. So yeah, there's crap on that bed, but it's not my stuff. I mean, it is my stuff, but it's not my bed. So it's not like I'm married. I have a wife. We have a well-made bed in a different room. This is my little guest room. So yeah, there's Legos and a towel on my bed. Don't judge me.
Heike, Michael, if UCSD came out on top, I would be so happy. I think that like in general, I just want to see every team at their fullest potential, right? Like I would never be against the fact that every team is playing the best Robomasters they possibly can. I get so sad when teams like clearly stuff isn't working properly. It like breaks my heart a little bit because I'm like, you put so much time and effort into these robots. You put all on the line for 7 minutes of fame, right? And sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's how it happens. Like it will happen inevitably. But if every team could play their best, I would be so happy. If UCSD could come out on top, I'd be so happy, man. That would be a great situation for me.
All right,
at no point am I waiting for the UW dub.
Yeah. Listen up. I got one question for you. Can we get on the rep channel? It doesn't need to be on the real RMNA channel. On the rep channel, can we get an NYU reveal? There was so much mystery last year. It doesn't have to be right now. It doesn't have to be today. I'm just saying, pull your NYU connections. I need to know: are they back? I hope they're back. Is what I'm saying. If they're not back, don't make them get on our podcast and say we're not back like that. That's not what I'm asking for. But last year, like they struggled so much, and like we were unsure if they were gonna make it to like make it through their robot inspections and stuff. But they're one of those teams where year-wise, right, age-wise, like unless they hit a stumbling block like a Virginia Tech at one point, right, they should be at a point where this should be like a breakout year for maybe getting out of groups. This should be like an in contention year.
So the weird part about NYU, and again, I've been doing the stats a lot, so that's why I'm like looking back on this. NYU actually got out of groups every year except for last year.
Okay, yeah, but there were only like we're on the rep channel now, Shaur. We can be a little more blunt. There weren't 9 good teams 2 years ago.
No, there weren't 9 good teams. I agree with you. They did luck through quite a few of those matches. I would know because I lucked through them personally. I think so. Here's my kind of. I'll give a quick spiel on it. Here's my kind of hope this year. I've been helping them a little bit on the background, like mentoring them. Obviously, they come to me for a little bit of advice. I give them a little advice. I don't try to impose or anything on them. They've asked me a couple times, and from what I have heard, from what I saw in the midterm assessment, cautiously optimistic that they are back to form, like true form.
Heck yeah.
Right? Like an actual working robots. I will say they're one of the few teams that submitted an engineer that passed engineer challenge. So,
Sick.
you know, that's one thing that I'm also like excited for. But yeah, so I'm like, again, very cautiously optimistic. I think that what ends up happening sometimes with teams, and I'm sure that some of you in chat will eventually run into this because I read into this. I'm going to give you my like advice here. A team will get very dependent sometimes on a couple of key figures. And if it happens to be that all those key figures graduate in 1 year, things can get really bad really fast if it's not fully documented, fully like transitioned. Like you need to like make sure you're thinking ahead every year, right? Like don't just think for the year you're in, think for the years ahead of you as well. But yeah, that would be my one advice as a previous team captain, because this happened my year when I graduated and a couple other people with me graduated. Things got just a little bit trickier because like some people left the team at the same time, some people graduated, things happen, life happens, right? Things get in the way. And you can like teams will falter occasionally during those periods. But like I'm hoping that they're back to some amount of form. I'm hoping for a group fit. They said that they want to get out of groups this year. So I'm like, I'm happy with that. If they do that, I'm very happy. I love my NYU team. I think they're very, very cool people, very fun people to talk to, and very smart engineers. And I'm just like putting my fingers crossed for them because I want to see them succeed, obviously.
Well, and they totally could have a shot, right? I mean, when we're talking about 5, 6, 7, and 8, we're looking at like UT Austin, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at
University of Alberta.
Yeah, like Alberta, maybe a Purdue if they get pushed out of like they're 4 or 5, right? They could be 4 reasonably, but like 4, 5, 6 maybe.
I'm a little worried about Purdue.
Maybe McAllister sometimes shakes it up. Like Spiderbot comes in and pushes for 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, no, McMaster. Thank you. Did I say McAllister?
You said McAllister. I was like, that's food. I get it. It's getting around that dinner time.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say just because you mentioned Purdue, I'm a little worried about Purdue because their strength in the last 2 years was definitely their balancing bot being so efficient and so good. And this year they've just gotten rid of it, they said.
Yeah.
At Midwest. That's a little bit terrifying. I'm sure they can pull it together with like a new hero. Like maybe it just works.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not dooming by any means on them. I think they can definitely do it. I'm just like, like it's like you're giving away like your prized possession in a way, right? That like, and I'm not because balancing is still very strong. And so I'm kind of like just curious. Are there any Purdue people in chat? I doubt it. If you're from Purdue in chat, I would love to know why the balancing was removed.
I mean, the buffs are gone, right? Like
the buffs are gone. You have to have 4 panels, but like given the field layout, especially like the balancing would still be
incredibly helpful. Especially if you have a jumper.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Right. That's why I'm just curious, right? Because I was like, if any team's going to bring a balancing, it was going to be them. And so the fact they're not, I'm like, dang, I really don't think anyone's bringing a jumper at that point.
Yeah.
So.
All right, Shaur, hear me out. Chad, if you haven't caught on, because it's only week 1, so why would, like, there's nothing for you to catch on to yet. Shaur and I are trying to stream Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays pretty consistently. Mm-hmm. So we have a few days before our next stream. Yes. What if our next stream is a bracket builder? What if next stream, just like the whole freaking thing, not a bracket as much as like a ending up a place builder. What would you call
it? Like a top 8.
Dude, I want to go like top 12. I want to go through the teams and pick the ones that I think are going to be top 8. And then I guess by default, well, that's what I'm saying. I guess by default, we'd still, kind of like a tier list. I want to do top 8 and then I want to do tiers below that, right?
Yeah. I can go with that.
For the teams that don't make it out of groups, I get it. They're all going to tie, right? So like there's no 9th team, but frankly, I would like to play with it because I don't want to. We don't know what the groups are going to be, so we won't actually be able to be like, oh, well, UT will beat this other team. Okay, cool. But we will be able to say like A tier, B tier in terms of they don't make it into groups.
Yeah.
That'd be a
We
lot
will
of
do a
fun.
pre-show actually at competition discussing that when the groups are released. We will have a whole section where we just talk about what's the bracket
Yeah,
path.
yeah, but
That's going to be a ton of
we're gonna spend that whole time talking about murder group.
fun. Oh, I forgot that there's a murder group
Murder
because CU has to
group.
be in one of them.
The
CU
consequences
has
of
to
our
be with the
actions
top
from
one of the
last
top
year.
8. The craziest part is there is totally a world where it's like UW, CU, and like Purdue in the same like group, or like CU, UW, and like U of A or
Where did
SFU.
NUS finish last year?
NUS was third, so they can't be in the same
Okay,
group as
cool.
UW.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool, cool,
you
cool,
can't
cool,
have that. You can't
cool,
have
cool, cool,
quite
cool,
that
cool.
crazy of a group.
That's
I make
good.
sure of this that
That's
you could
good.
not get a one in four.
Who
one
was
through four
second
cannot
last
be
year?
together. VT.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, so could you get like a UW, CU, Texas A&M?
Tamu was fourth, so you cannot get that.
All right, sick. Ooh, all right. It's just those third and fourth. I was like, oh man. All right, but the bracket shook out. That's a pretty
Yeah.
reasonable bracket.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a pretty reasonable bracket.
You could get hit with a Nagoya, which is a very strong team
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
You could get hit with the UW Nagoya CU special, and then it's just like, well, GG's, man, that sucks.
That could be tough. Hey, you know what? Before we wrap up, because now we're just rambling, but
Yeah.
if you're that team, just freaking believe. Remember RHIT last year?
Oh yeah.
Made it out of groups and beat out CU for a group spot. It can happen. Like, you just got to go freaking hard in all of your games. I know teams have told me, because I've pushed for brackets releasing earlier. Has been something I've pushed for, and so just like a week earlier. I'm not talking about crazy early. I'm just saying like a very legit, like a League of Legends style. Like you go pull a ping pong ball out and you crack open the egg and you read the teams and you just build the groups on stream. Also gives us a week to just kind of talk and build hype and theory craft and all of that. And some of the kickback that I get, which is totally fair, is that some of the teams might just choose not to show up. If they know they're in the murder group, they might just save the like 10 grand and not fly across the country. I hope RHIT and UCSD and all of that drama last year busted that wide open. I hope now, no matter what group you're in, you know that there's a friggin' chance and that you still show up and you grind it out.
It can come down to base health is the thing. Like you can tie.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Preston, one last thing. If we want to wrap up, well, first off, I have another match if we want to watch it. Up to you. I'll leave that in your hands. The second thing I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh, there is one more murder group that just occurred to me that could see the fall of one of our top 4.
Okay.
And that group, Tamu, Purdue, or RHIT, CU. That's a possible group.
Purdue, CU. Okay. But to me, that's not like certain death. Because like you said, right? Purdue, you're a little bit nervous. I think they're like a 5th place, 6th place team right now.
Yeah. When I say like a murder group, I mean like I could see that being a group that Tamu specifically could struggle against because CU, scary team. Yeah. Purdue went like really close to even with them last year as well.
Yeah, and A&M, look, A&M does freaking awesome in 30% of their matches. 30% of the time, they look like they could beat anyone.
Yes.
50% of the time, they are a shaky like 6th, 7th, 8th place team. That 20% is the only reason they climb up out of that every year. And then like 20% of the rest of the time, they don't look like they should make it out of groups. 20% of the time, they have one functional bot. Like every year, there's at least one round where they only have one bot. And the scary thing is...
And it's always the standard.
That's what I was about to say. That was true until last year.
Oh, that's
No, the year before too. Their big NUS thing was because their standard had electrical malfunctions and didn't work anymore. And the hero actually clutched that up and like did great and got down the rail century with... It was crazy, right? But then last year, again, they had a round with just their hero. They had a round with just their standard. I mean, 100%. If A&M gets a tough group, they could really struggle to get out if they have those issues at the wrong time. It's all going to be kind of a roll of the dice if they haven't fixed those issues. I believe it's been a year. These are not difficult issues to fix if they didn't restart, right? If you reinvent the wheel, it's really difficult to build a reliable robot from scratch. If you started with an unreliable but really good robot, making it more reliable is not that difficult of a problem with a year to spend.
Yeah,
Like, it's just not.
absolutely. One last group for you. One last
All
group for
right.
you because
All
it
right.
occurred to me. UW, RHIT,
Sure.
SFU,
Okay.
CU,
Okay.
fifth person. Pick your fifth. What a horrifying group to be put in. SFU breakout performance last
Okay.
year.
RHIT
The
shouldn't
fifth
be that
person.
scary this year, right? Like, okay, let me adjust the word that. RHIT has now, in my opinion, totally become like a 7th, 8th, ninth place team. Like,
They
they're not a lock for getting out of groups for me. It
mhm.
depends on what group they're in.
That's fair. I was gonna say though, after Midwest, I don't remember if you watch any of the RHIT Midwest matches. After Midwest, they have a moving, pretty solid Sentry
Yeah.
that fires decently.
Yep.
I could definitely see RHIT being pretty scary against teams.
Bro,
And like they took what a game or two off of VT at Midwest, if I'm not mistaken. Which again, VT looked like the strongest team at Midwest.
mhm.
So
Yeah. I
just
so
saying, that's horrifying to
all
me.
I'll say is I'm really excited for when we do our bracket thing. I
Oh,
think we should do
absolutely.
it on rep. I think this
Oh
is the
yeah.
right place for doing a full bracket, right? We've talked a little bit
Yeah.
on the other channel about predictions and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think this year there should be 6 or 7 fully functional sentries. Like, I don't think having a
I agree.
functional sentry gets them any higher than 6th by like default anymore. That's why I'm saying kind of like that 7, 8, 9 is where I bet that they go.
I didn't even consider Odio Samurai. I've been talking about it all the time. Odio Samurai's in that too, just as like a
Yeah, I
random
mean,
team that
right.
gets
It's just
thrown in.
off the cuff. You've got UW. Let's say Tamu fixes their crap. You've got CU.
Cameroon,
You've got VT.
CU,
You've got NUS. You've got Oedo.
NUS,
You've got
RHIT has
Purdue.
one. Purdue has a
Um,
moving century.
I mean, that's 7, and then we're saying maybe RHIT, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got other teams like Torino could totally be in there. Maybe
Yeah.
NYU gets their stuff going. UT Austin
Mhm.
looked really solid 2 years ago, and I'm waiting for
Yep.
them to kind of get that next step
Yep.
into the
Yep.
top. Like, I mean, we're at now 10. I think there should be a lot of mid pack competitors, which make it
Yeah.
really difficult for teams like RHIT
Oh,
to showcase
Nagoya
their
as well.
progress. Oh,
Moving century
Nagoya,
probably. Yep.
McMaster, we didn't
McMaster.
mention.
SFU might actually have a moving century because
SFU, sure.
I would not count them out in terms of like their technological development goes really fast. It looks like
Yeah.
because they're all like previous Rubber Master people apparently. So
Bro, we
oh,
can't sleep on UCSD though. I mean,
true,
there are some
true.
pros of hosting, frankly.
Yeah,
They've had, like it's
please UCSD. I want UCSD to get into groups so bad. I think it'd be awesome. It'd be like the best, like to follow the drama from last year and UCSD ends up in groups.
yeah.
I would think that would be the perfect send off to that drama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope there's a team out there that we didn't include in that list that's just fuming. I bet there's not. I don't have such an inflated ego that I think people like care that deeply about what we say, but
Mhm.
I hope just for the oomph of the competition, I hope there's a
Yeah,
team out
yeah,
there that's tick. They're like, how can they not consider us still? We've been here for like 2.5 years. Because that's that
yep.
sweet spot, I think. Once you've been in for 2 years, that's when you can really make a breakout.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah.
Yeah.
Sick. Shar, I think we call it. It's been almost 2 hours tonight. I think I'm
Oh
happy
wow.
with this one, and then you and I will chat offline about building up a cool bracket thing for Sunday, and
Sounds good to me.
maybe do some bonus RMUC stuff as well next
Yeah.
week.
Cool. All right. Thanks everyone from chat. Thanks everyone for joining
Yeah,
us,
thanks for
giving us
hanging
a
out. We
lot
had
of
like 6 or 7
information.
unique chatters
Yeah, it
tonight,
was
which is
a
awesome.
solid amount of people. We're growing slowly. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it.
Sweet.
But yeah, we will be back again Sunday. There is no RMNA mainstream this weekend, just because we take a break week every other week. So you'll tune in here on Sunday instead. Um, yeah, it's been great having you guys around. Thanks for listening to our horrifying opinions. I'm sure many of you were like, "What the heck are these two talking about?" And yeah, don't forget to send us questions, comments, etc. if you want
Oh,
to, and have us talk about it.
suggestions. You can
Yeah,
send us your comments and
suggestions.
your questions on
Yeah,
RMNA. You can send that to us on RoboMasters North America.
yeah.
Rep, you can send us your freaking suggestions. What do you want? What do you want? You want to see
You want
me
us
and
to play
Sharp play a
Terraria?
video game? Do you want us to, I don't know. We've talked about building a bot. What
Yeah.
you want us to watch old footage? You want us to look at old RMNA stuff together? I mean, we do it offline anyway. We could take a peek at it. Just if you have crazy suggestions for things that you want ARM and A wise, let me know. There was a year where I was thinking about using now the AI is a thing.
Mhm.
Season 2 of RoboMaster Anime and just making it grassroots and having it be ARM and A focused. I think it'd be freaking sick.
We could always ask DJI. We could always be like, make a season 2, make it NUS. That should be the team. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming by. Catch you guys on Sunday. Bye
Bye.
bye.